Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer, where we bring you the inside scoop from travel industry experts and innovators. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and today's guest is Jason Steele. He's a full-time freelance journalist, and he specializes in credit cards and reward travel. He's also a contributor to The Points Guy, and his work regularly appears in mainstream publications and outlets, including Yahoo Finance and MSN Money. As if that weren't enough, Jason also holds a commercial pilot's license. So he's got very, very good credentials and a wonderful background, and that's why we had asked him to come on today to talk about some of the more recent trends he's seeing across airline industry loyalty programs. Welcome, Jason.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great to have you. So let's kick it off with the first obvious question. What are some of the key changes that you're seeing in points and mileage programs lately? And of those changes, which ones do you think are having the biggest impact, whether it's good or bad, on air travelers?
Well, it's been a very eventful time the last year or two for those who are award travel enthusiasts like myself. You know, the biggest change, of course, is the move to the revenue-based systems. Delta kicked off this change, and United later copied them almost word for word in terms of offering frequent flyer miles not based on the miles that were flown, which I always thought was kind of arbitrary anyway. Pilots use nautical miles, most of the world uses kilometers, but they're now offering them based on dollars, which has a certain logic to it. But the way Delta and later United implemented it is a vast devaluation for the majority of travelers. Those who pay for the full fare walk-up tickets, business travelers traveling on their client's budget or their company's budget, they'll actually do pretty well. And that's, of course, exactly what the executives at Delta and United are looking for. There's people willing to pay $1,000 for a domestic season economy at the last moment. The rest of us who maybe fly on less expensive tickets are going to do pretty poorly. So that's not very good for air travelers. The other big trend, is the devaluation of these programs. And people have compared them to, a small country that doesn't even have a central bank just printing more currency. Well, what happens, of course, is that the currency becomes worth less and less every month and every year. So travelers have caught on to that, and so have banks that issue travel reward credit cards. There are now, banks like Capital One and Barclays Bank are now issuing cards saying, hey, these miles are now just worth a penny each, and you could use them wherever you want, and they don't devalue the way the airline miles do. On the other hand, I could make the argument that there's much more miles available through credit cards and promotions and other means, along with the fact that the airlines themselves have upgraded their product. You could argue that a business class seat today is very similar to a first class seat 10 years ago, and that I could spend a similar amount on my credit card today as I did 10 years ago to get that seat. So in the end, I think the award travel enthusiasts who really focus on getting value out of their miles will still be able to in the future, but it's quite frustrating for the majority of travelers who maybe don't study all the ins and outs of these programs and don't have time to really scrutinize their credit cards the way we do.
It's interesting, and I agree. We understood also that Delta recently removed elite miles earning on their lowest price fares. Have you heard anything about that?
Sure. I mean, that was the latest in a series of moves by Delta to really, frankly, remove value from their programs. In various industry functions, I've heard Delta SkyMiles executives speak and spoken to them, and they really feel like their customers are the ones who are paying those full fare walk-up tickets, and those who would shop by price, it seems like they're willing to let that customer go in a certain way. It's almost like if you're going to get that lowest fare, Delta doesn't really feel like incentivizing that behavior. And I know a lot of these business travelers in Atlanta and other Delta hubs who their company doesn't care if the ticket costs $350 or $450. So this is just giving them incentive, just pay $100 extra for the same seat.
Yeah.
That's how Delta looks at it. The rest of us will look at it as like, wow, that's pretty terrible that I'm an elite status holder and I buy this low fare seat and I don't even get elite qualifying miles. I lose so many of these benefits, even though I'm a loyal customer. So it remains to be seen how that's really going to work out for Delta. But they're profitable. They seem to know what they're doing from a business standpoint.
Yeah, it's business. So that said, do you think that frequent flyer rewards programs overall will do away with highly sought after advantages for elites like upgrades and free travel?
No, I really don't, because among these business travelers, they get hooked on not just the flying in a first class seat every time, but the possibility that they can. It's almost like a gambling behavior where even if they end up spending more money in the end than they really get out of it, it's that almost like a rush. Oh, I'm on the upgrade list. I might get upgraded. I did last week. Maybe I'll get upgraded this week. So I don't see that going away. And in fact, I see that model possibly being extended to other businesses. We see that in other areas of of travel, like hotels and rental cars, where people can get those upgraded rooms if they have or upgraded vehicles if they have elite status. I'm waiting for non-travel retailers to get in on this game. I'm waiting for that priority line at my grocery store, or for that upgrade from Apple or Samsung because I'm a loyal customer of theirs. So I really don't see that model going away, even if they tighten up the rules.
It's interesting because I have seen that myself. There's many restaurants in the area. I'm on the East Coast in New York, and many eateries are now doing that.
Really?
So I think yes, they have loyalty rewards programs. You can sign up. They give you a little card, and then they track how many times you visit the restaurant. And then there's some kind of a perk. The 10th visit, maybe you get a free dinner or you get a beer or something like that, which is a great idea.
Yeah, and I have seen that. It starts off like with sandwich shops that give you a little punch card, things like that. So yeah, definitely restaurants are getting into that, in a way that maybe other retailers aren't. So, sometimes I like to compare the frequent flyer programs to those restaurant punch cards where you buy 9 sandwiches and your 10th is free, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I nail you to the wall and asked you which airline is offering the best rewards program right now, who would you say?
Well, it all depends on what kind of travel you are. For me and my family, I have a wife and 2 kids. We are Southwest Airlines devotees, simply because my wife and I have both obtained the companion pass, largely through credit cards, and that means that we get 4 tickets for the price of 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so people who are familiar with this program will know that you accumulate 110,000 points in a calendar year, and you get that companion pass. So 110,000 points goes pretty far for most leisure travelers. That's 3 to 4 trips a year, or even more, that we can take at virtually no cost to us, other than the TSA fees. And these Southwest points, they'll give you a refund if you rebook your ticket at the lower price. If you cancel it, you get all the points back into your own account that you can rebook in anyone's name, which you can't do even with cash bookings. That the refunded tickets have to be booked in the same name as the original ticket holder. So unbelievable value. And of course, I'm based in Denver, where they offer a tremendous amount of service from my home airport. So for domestic travel, I love that. When it comes to international travel, I've been a huge fan of American Airlines in the last couple years. Largely because United and Delta have devalued their program so much. I could still book these 100,000 mile business class tickets to Europe using American Airlines miles. And even though Americans they have great award availability domestically, although they've just seemingly zeroed it out internationally, but you could still go to their partners to travel internationally and still get those great 100,000 mile rates. And of course, the fact they were offering credit cards earlier this year for a 100,000 mile sign-up bonus, that didn't hurt either.
Actually, that said, you've talked about this before. If you're really trying to accrue points, etc., by simply flying, it's going to take you a long time to do it. So sometimes the fastest route is to get a really good credit card, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Which ones are offering the most generous points and promotions?
Yeah, well, sure. An interesting fact I like to point out, maybe because of my aviation background, is a commercial airliner travels at 500 miles an hour. So if you gave me a free ticket to travel, or pass, I'd travel unlimited amounts and accumulate miles on those travel, kind of like an airline buddy pass. I wouldn't even accept it, take you up on it, because at 500 miles an hour, it would take me 200 hours to get the 100,000 miles I needed for just one business class ticket. I'm not going to sit in the air for 200 hours. That's, the economics wouldn't work. So as far as the best credit cards, I really love the cards that offer the flexible reward points that can be transferred to airline miles. And it's been a great year for that. At the beginning of the year, there were 3 programs. The American Express Membership Rewards, the Starwood Preferred Guest Program, and the Chase Ultimate Rewards Program, each of which had several different airline transfer partners. In the last few months, the Citi Thank You Rewards Program added 8 or 9 different transfer partners. And then just in the last couple of weeks, the Diners Club program re-entered the market in terms of accepting new applications. And they have 14 different airline transfer partners and hotel partners. So it's just been a great year for that. So any one of those 5 cards do great. If I have to pick just one, I tell people get the Starwood card. It has 30 transfer partners plus Starwood hotels. It's just a great value for a $65 a year annual fee.
Yeah, I read somewhere, I think you wrote it, that there's over 200, I guess, partners that you can book rewards through.
Yeah, I did a little research project where I looked at all the different 30 or so transfer partners, and I said, well, which partners do they have? That, like, for example, if you have American Airlines miles, you can book on U.S. Airways or British Airways and all their dozen or so partners. I came up with a number that approached 200. I mean, it was all depending on how you counted subsidiaries of different airlines, but it was just remarkable. If you give me Starwood points, I could get you an award flight conceivably on almost any airline in the world.
That's fantastic, and that's great information, because people don't automatically, intuitively think, I think, of Starwood to kind of go after.
Yeah, it's a hotel chain, so why would you think of it for airline miles? But among those really, the reward travel enthusiasts, it has like a cult-like following. They just love that card.
That's awesome. So we're coming to the end, but I wanted to ask you our last question. What are your favorite tools and apps to keep yourself organized, manage your points and miles, and all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, other than Expert Flyer itself, the big one I think is Award Wallet. There's several competing tools that manage your frequent flyer miles the way that does, but I've ended up using Award Wallet to manage both my miles, those of my wife, my children, even my family members. So it's just a go-to tool. Another one that people don't think about is Wikipedia. I find myself looking at Wikipedia very often, because if you look at the page for your home airport, it will show every airline serving that airport and every airport that it serves from there. So you could cross-reference that with your destination and find out which airlines and which alliances you can use to get there. Another great tool I like is the Great Circle Mapper, and that'll tell you exactly how many miles between any 2 points on Earth, including airports. So that'll tell you how many miles you might gain from a flight, but it'll also, let's say I want to minimize my travel time. If I go, from Denver to Tokyo via Los Angeles, is that going to be quicker than Hawaii if I change planes in Hawaii, or if I change planes in Seattle or Chicago? I mean, I don't know these off the top of my head. I'll go to Great Circle Mapper and figure it out which is the quickest route. So those are tools I use on almost an everyday basis when I'm booking award travel and planning travel awards.
That's great. Thank you so much. And
Sure, you're welcome.
For anyone who's watching, if you'd like to read our full one-on-one interview with Jason, please visit our blog at blog.ExpertFlyer.com, and visit ExpertFlyer.com if you'd like to trial our popular Seat Alert service. Thank you so much, Jason, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
You're welcome. Great being here.